How many times have you found yourself doing what you're supposed to do instead of what actually lights you up inside? The job your parents always wanted for you, the degree that seemed impressive, the life path that everyone nodded approvingly at. But underneath it all, there's this quiet voice asking, is this really what I want? Today, we're talking about one of the most subtle yet devastating traps we fall into, living someone else's life instead of our own. Think about it. How much of what you're pursuing right now is truly yours? And how much belongs to the expectations of others? It starts innocently enough. As children, we're wired to seek approval. We learn quickly what makes the adults in our lives smile, what earns us praise, what keeps us safe in our family system. When you drew a picture and your mum put it on the fridge, you learned that creativity could earn love. When your father beamed with pride as you followed in his footsteps, you learned that his dreams could become your roadmap. When your teacher recognized your aptitude for something, you might have built an entire identity around it, whether it truly resonated with you or not. We all have these moments where external validation shaped our internal compass. But here's the problem. What starts as natural childhood adaptation can calcify into a life lived perpetually for others, a life where the North Star isn't your own wisdom, but the anticipated reactions of everyone else. Let me ask you, do you recognize yourself in any of these? You feel a strange emptiness even when you achieve the goals you've been working toward. You find yourself saying things like, I should, or I'm supposed to, far more often than I want to. Your decisions are often made by imagining what others would think, rather than checking in with your own feeling. You have this persistent sense that you're playing a role rather than living authentically. Success feels hollow. Achievements feel like they belong to someone else. Think about it. These are the quiet symptoms of a life that fits perfectly on paper, but doesn't quite fit you. Living someone else's life isn't just a philosophical problem. It extracts very real cost. Research in psychology shows that this misalignment between our authentic selves and our lived experience creates what's called cognitive dissonance. This isn't just emotional discomfort. It manifests as chronic stress, weakened immune function, and even physical pain. When you're constantly performing for an audience rather than expressing your true nature, you're essentially running psychological interference on yourself all day, every day. That's exhausting. And beyond the physical toll, there's the existential cost. The relationships built on a foundation of who you think you should be, rather than who you are. The talents left unexplored because they didn't fit someone else's vision for you. The joy abandoned in pursuit of socially sanctioned success. The life unlived. Let that sink in. The life unlived. Here's what many don't understand about living for external validation. It's an endless game that you can never truly win. When your sense of worth and direction comes from outside yourself, you're perpetually at the mercy of changing expectations, shifting cultural values, and the fickle opinions of others. You were praised for taking the practical job, but now they wonder why you're not more passionate. You were admired for your dedication to others, but now they question why you never take time for yourself. You were rewarded for fitting in, but now they ask why you don't stand out. It's a moving target that leaves you exhausted, confused, and ultimately lost. Because the truth is, no amount of external validation can fill the void created by betraying your own authenticity. So how do we begin to reclaim our lives? How do we start living from the inside out rather than the outside in? It starts with a simple but profound question. If no one was watching, what would you choose? If there were no expectations to meet, no judgments to fear, no roles to fulfill, what would your life look like? Take a moment to truly consider this. What activities would fill your days? What values would guide your decision? What dreams would you pursue? Who would you spend time with? What parts of yourself would you finally allow to breathe? This isn't about dramatic rebellion or upending your entire life overnight. It's about beginning to hear your own voice again. It's about recognizing that beneath the layers of should and supposed to, there's still a compass that belongs uniquely to you. One of the most powerful steps you can take is what I call the practice of permission. This is the intentional act of giving yourself permission to want what you want, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else. Permission to change your mind, permission to disappoint others occasionally, permission to be a beginner at something new, permission to want what society hasn't told you to want. This isn't permission to be a beginner at something new, permission to want what society hasn't told you to want. This isn't selfishness, this is self-reclamation, because here's the truth, there is wisdoms in your wanting. Your desires aren't random or inherently selfish. They're often signposts pointing toward the life that would allow you to contribute your unique gifts most fully. Reclaiming your life doesn't require grand gestures. It happens in small, consistent acts of authenticity. Start by creating what I call authenticity anchors in your daily life. Small pockets where you allow yourself to be fully aligned with your true preferences. Maybe it's a hobby you pursue purely for joy, not achievement. Maybe it's a morning ritual that connects you to yourself before the world rushes in. Maybe it's a relationship where you can be unguarded and real. These small spaces of authenticity become the foundation for larger alignment. Then, begin practicing what psychologists call internal referencing, the habit of checking in with yourself before looking outward for guidance. Before making a decision, pause and ask, what feels right to me? What resonates with my values? What would honor my own journey? This isn't about ignoring wisdom from others. It's about ensuring that you're the primary author of your own life. One of the hardest parts of reclaiming your life is accepting that you will inevitably disappoint some people. Those who have grown accustomed to you fulfilling their expectations may struggle when you begin honoring your own truth. This discomfort isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. Often it's evidence that you're finally doing something right. Remember, disappointment is not catastrophic. It's the natural consequence of having boundaries and being human. And while momentary disappointment may be uncomfortable, living a life that betrays your authentic self is devastating. Choose the path of temporary discomfort over perpetual self-betrayal. As you begin this journey back to yourself, you'll notice something remarkable. The anxiety of constant performance begins to fade. The exhaustion of maintaining a facade diminishes. The vague sense of emptiness starts to fill with genuine purpose. Because when you stop living someone else's life, you create space for your own to emerge. This doesn't happen overnight. Authenticity isn't a destination. It's an ongoing practice, a daily commitment to honoring the truth of who you are. Even as that truth evolves, there will be setbacks, moments when old patterns resurface, times when the pull of external validation feels overwhelming. That's okay. Growth isn't linear. What matters is that you keep returning to yourself, keep asking the essential question, keep making choices that align with your inner knowing rather than external pressure. Here's what's interesting about reclaiming your life. When you give yourself permission to live authentically, you inadvertently give others permission to do the same. Your courage becomes contagious. By living your truth, you create space for others to discover theirs. Your authenticity doesn't diminish the light of others. It illuminates the possibility of what could be. And perhaps most importantly, by aligning with your authentic self, you unlock contributions only you can make. The world doesn't need more people living identical, prescribed lives. It needs your unique perspective, your distinctive gift, your particular way of seeing and being. So I leave you with this. 20 years from now, looking back on your life, what would feel like the greater failure? Disappointing others occasionally while living authentically, or perfectly meeting external expectations while betraying yourself consistently? The answer, I think, speaks for itself. Today, right now, you can begin the journey back to yourself. You can start small, you can be gentle, but you can choose to stop living someone else's life and finally fully inhabit your own. Because a life authentic to you isn't just a gift you give